times get hard, and we're here to help at NorthPoint.
Hello, welcome to another episode of NorthPoint Making Health Happen. My name is Lisa Castile, your host for the program. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This series is being brought to you by NorthPoint Health and Wellness Center. We want to connect with you about topics in health and wellness that impact our community. And we want to provide you with practical tips and resources you can use. Today's episode is about trauma, something that touches so many lives. Trauma. We'll explore how it shows up, how it impacts us, and most importantly, how people find the strength to overcome it and begin to heal. Today, we're joined in the studio by Paul Thomas Harper, a licensed clinical social worker and senior psychiatric therapist here at NorthPoint Health and Wellness Center. Paul holds master's degrees in both social work and management and brings more than 30 years of combined experience in the military, law enforcement, and social services. Over his career, he's worked with children, adults, and families across Hennepin County and now provides therapy and clinical supervision focused on holistic, culturally responsive care. Paul believes healing begins from within and tailors his approach to meet each client's unique emotional, social, and spiritual needs. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, we are so excited to have you.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it.
Okay, let's do that.
How do you define trauma, and what are some of the common misconceptions about it?
So I've done some training in trauma, and there's any number of definitions that you can have. The one I like to pull from is from Dr. Dan Siegel. And what he talks about, it's an experience that we have that overwhelms our capacity to cope. Simple and basic.
Yes.
And so that's how I like to define it. When you also look at, I'm gonna quote from somebody, Schauer, Neuer, and Ebert, they wrote a book called Narrative Exposure Therapy. And I did some training in that modality that I work with people, and they talk about trauma. Actually, originally, the word trauma is Greek, right? So it comes from the meaning of injury or wound. So we're talking about the injured person, the wounded person. And so I look at that, but I also think in the context of it's not just physical, it can also be emotional.
Sure.
Now, you asked me the secondary question, or what are some actual myths? And I'm going to share these resources because I don't know everything. We can be humble enough to know that. We might learn something. And what I found is that there's an article by Antoinette Contreras. It's June of 2024, and she talks about 7 myths. I'm not going to talk about all of them. And I'm going to kind of pull from that Narrative Exposure Therapy book and as well as her article. Now, one of the first things she talks about is it's unavoidable.
Trauma's unavoidable.
Trauma's unavoidable.
Okay.
And that's a myth, right? We tend to forget how resilient we are as people. Right? And so once we understand that we're resilient and that not all adverse experiences that we have are traumatic ones. Well, Paul, what are you talking about? Well, a car comes, it almost hits you, but you see it. It's an adverse experience that may trigger a heart rate. But does that mean it has to be traumatic? No. You're resilient. You're being aware. You're looking around. You stop the car from hitting you. So humans have survived for eons and eons, right? We have to remember that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control the response.
You hear that? You can control your response to something.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it's like we talk about, I'm not responsible for the other person's feelings, but I'm responsible for how I control things, how I respond to it.
Sure.
So understanding that it's unavoidable, that's a myth. And that's one of the myths that she pointed out. She also talked about that it's always caused by a major event, right? Well, safety is subjective. Where you feel safe, I might not feel safe. And sometimes our safety is shaped by our experience. For instance, I've been in combat 3 times, so there's times where people might say, oh my God, that's so scary. And I'm like, well, for me, it was at one point, but when I became used to it, it wasn't as scary. Why? Resiliency. My fear can prevent me from performing. If I stay stuck in my fear, how will I be able to do what the main goal is, to go home? So you start to understand you mentally and emotionally have the power. You have to tap into that resiliency that you have. And again, what I talked about, what triggers you might be different from me. You might not be afraid of walking in North Minneapolis because it's where we live. And I find it interesting sometimes. People are like, oh my goodness, you're over in North working? I'm like, yeah. I walk, and You Rock right next to us, our partners, just had an event. I saw white people. I saw black people. I saw people navigating the neighborhood safely. So a major event for you is not a major event for me. Coming to North Minneapolis, formerly residing in North Minneapolis, we need to break those stereotypes and misconceptions that it's black or white thinking. Black or white thinking, it's a cognitive distortion. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Well, now, let's pause for a second, because you said something very interesting to me, and that is staying stuck in your fear. So does that mean one of the ways to begin the healing process is to identify what it is that you're fearful of and address that?
But I want to acknowledge that this is another quote from a book. We did a trauma training at NorthPoint, and it's stuck in my head. It says, the natural response to atrocities is to turn away from them. But this is a paraphrase.
Hide your eyes.
Yep,
right?
It's so
Hide your eyes.
horrible. I just can't. I just can't handle it. Right? And your mind is What do I want to say? I want to say that sometimes our memories of a traumatic situation are fragmented. If I took a piece of paper and ripped it up and threw it in the air, as I do in treatment therapy sometimes, to indicate, to show an example of, this is your memory. You remember bits and pieces of it. We're trying to put those memories back together so you can face that which you're afraid of, that which hurt you, and then process it, talk about it, understand how the heart rate, when you smell that smell of the person who abused you, makes your heart race. Where's that coming from? So once we piece the memory back together, that's a part of narrative exposure therapy. Then you can begin to heal. Because
some of those forgetting or blocking things out, that's our body's way, our mind's way of protecting us.
Safety. It's safety. It was it overwhelmed. Remember we talked about the definition of trauma? An experience we have that overwhelms our capacity to cope. So we can't cope with that, so our mind is protecting us, and we shut down. But as we're saying, is it always caused by a major event? No, because that's subjective. What triggers you may not trigger me. So we have to be open to understanding that. The last thing I'll say is that it's a trauma response due to a past event, right? Your past events may trigger you, but I didn't live your life. I like to tell my clients that I serve, and I use my words carefully because I'm working for them. When they enter my office becomes their space, right, to re-empower them to have control. That I haven't walked in your shoes. And my traumatic experience is I can empathize and try to understand what it's like, but I can never fully know what it was like for you. Right? And then the last thing I'm going to say is that only dramatic events can cause trauma. No. Initially, trauma was used in medication to describe a physical or bodily injury, right? And then trauma was also used to describe a neurological injury, traumatic brain injury. But in history, now we have the field of psychology, which is also saying that, hey, it can be a stressful or life-threatening event, mental or emotional. Those are some of the myths that I came from Antoinette Contreras in 2024. There's good research out there. Be critical in your research, right? Because not everything is good information that's out there. So I like to find evidence-based information to pull from.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
That's right. So how might trauma show up in a person's daily life without them realizing it?
How can it show up in their daily lives without them realizing it? You ever get that shake? You ever have that fear that something's around the corner?
Spidey senses.
Right? So we're saying that it can show up as a feeling, right? It can show up as a thought. Your heart racing, right? You notice that you're shaking. Maybe you have a tic. You're starting to move back and forth.
That's like a coping thing, right? The rocking?
Rocking. There can be some tics where people are coping. In some therapeutic modalities, they will teach you to tap. And that's supposed to also help you. That's one that I'm not fully training yet, but somebody saw me doing it. They said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just do this when it helps me soothe." And they said, "That's a technique from EMDR." I was like, "Oh, fascinating. I haven't looked into that yet." So it can show up in a physical sense. It can show up as a thought. Show up in a feeling. I feel uncomfortable. And we have to try to identify what is that uncomfortableness. Where does that come from? Here, I'll give you a real life example. I walked out of the federal building one day, And I remember looking up at the flag. The flag was blowing in the wind. I could feel the hotness on my face because it was a very hot day.
Okay.
I could smell the gas, not just gas, but I could smell jet fuel because they have the 133rd Airlift Wing close by. I could hear the hum of a C-130. And I froze. Why did I freeze?
It took you back to combat?
There we go. It took me back to as though I was in Iraq on an air base where I had been. Because I had awareness, I was able to say, no, I'm in Minnesota. I'm safe. I'm good.
Wow. Yeah.
And I caught I heard, I saw, I smelled. So sometimes it's our senses that indicate that something is afoot, you know. So
Amazing.
that's how it can show up.
We're built so complicated.
We are,
right?
but it's for survival.
For survival. So what are some of the long-term effects of untreated trauma on your mental and physical health? What do you say?
Well, mentally, it can make it difficult to interact with other people. If you're not aware of what your triggers are, then you can constantly be re-triggered because you haven't faced it. It's too scary to deal with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes culturally, Black community, like, I ain't going to therapy. We don't do that. I've heard that, right? I've struggled with that. Sometimes we want to see people that look like us, but what you may find at NorthPoint is not everybody looks like you, but everybody does care about you.
Right.
I always like to tell my clients, I'm kind of sliding off a little bit, but they'll say, well, I wanted to see a Black therapist. I'm like, look, I haven't seen that brother over there, and I'm talking about a white person. And I said, I see Black people coming out there pretty happy.
Right.
Because I want to destigmatize that. No, people actually care across culture, and that's what you see at NorthPoint, right? So when we look at it, it can hit me with a question again.
Well, we were talking about if it goes untreated.
Ah, there we go.
Yes, the
if
long-term
it goes untreated,
effects.
your body is always in a state of fight or flight. Picture yourself in a boxing pose with your hands up and your arms are ready to fight. You're going to get fatigued.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's mental fatigue, it's physical fatigue. We know that stress can cause other diseases or aggravate them, right?
Yep.
So
And you're talking about like health-wise.
Health-wise,
Yeah.
right? There's an intersection. Maybe it may lead to poor coping skills. You know, I'm just going to sit around and I'm going to smoke marijuana, cannabis all day long. Well, how does that affect you in the long term? Research is being done on that. I know it's legal, but what is the long-term effect depending on the age at which you start, the amount, the consistency, everything. Is your body important to you? Same thing with alcohol. We know some of the impacts of alcohol. So I'm coping to deal with these feelings that I have, but they're unhealthy coping skills. If I've never gotten treatment, I don't know how to face what keeps showing up.
Sure.
And then maybe I start isolating. Right?
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm somebody says something and then I'm just triggered and I'm getting into physical altercations. So those are the different ways it can show up. You're having poor interactions with others.
Sure.
Mentally, your emotions are all over the place. You're dysregulated. Those are some of the ways it can show up.
Okay. Interesting. You used a word, triggering. And I hear that. Can you tell us, what does that mean?
Triggering. So a triggering, there may be something from your senses, from your sight, what you hear, that bring forth a memory from the past, right? And that event from the past was traumatic. And so when you hear something that sounds like your parent yelling at you, maybe you've have an expectation that somebody's had of you your whole life. You have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to achieve. You're Black. You got to work hard. I say that because that's what I've heard. Right?
Yep.
You got to work twice as hard as anybody else. And you put that expectation on yourself. And now the parent doesn't even have to be there anymore.
Right. Because it's so embedded.
It's so embedded in your mental, your psyche. It becomes part of what you believe. It's just, this is what we have to do.
Right.
It's like I always speak to veterans because I've been overseas. So for me, it's always like, go, 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 go. We can't stop. We have, doesn't, I know you're tired. Doesn't matter. You keep it going. Do we? No.
Yeah.
And then you come back here and I take a job and it's like, I have to work. I have to keep going. I can't give up. There's a mission. And that triggers me because then it's overwhelming my capacity to cope. We go back to the definition of trauma. Because now I'm putting this expectation on myself to achieve and do things that I really don't have to. Because at NorthPoint they're saying, hey, you got time off, take it off. God, he never takes any time off.
Right.
But is it helping or hurting? So those are some of the things with a trigger. Things that that you see, hear, feel, experience that remind you of something from the past and make you feel the same way, and you can't explain it.
Right. It's just there.
It's
you have
just
a response to
there.
it.
And it can be a training. I went into a training before I became a social worker, and I had fully processed all the traumas I experienced. I'd gone to a homicide scene one time, and I thought, no, I'm good. I just saw horrible things, but I'm good. Well, I did the trauma training, thought I could process that situation, and I was triggered. I was so triggered that after I left the training, I drove right back to the scene of the homicide. And this is years after I had been there. And I was like, wow, I think I probably need to talk to somebody to figure out, why am I triggered?
Yeah. And we have memories that trigger us.
Yes.
I remember, I'll just share, my dad passed a couple years ago, and I was very close to my dad. I was his caretaker for 10 years. And I remember I was like, I came up in a household where you fake it until you make it, and you don't really tell your business, and you just kind of get through it. You push through it. It's that resilience.
Right.
As we as African American people, you talk about that all the time.
Right.
And so I was offered grief counseling, and I didn't take it. I was like, no, I got this. I took care of my dad. I was good with the, how his life ended. And then one day, I had driven to a fast food restaurant, and all of a sudden, the tears. I'm in the drive-thru, and the tears are just coming down. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I pulled over, and I realized this was how I would treat my dad, because he was in renal failure. He loved sweet potato fries, right? And so I would go to this particular restaurant, and I would bring him home sweet potato fries and a milkshake, and we'd share it. And it was probably 3 days before the first anniversary of his death, that I had gone. And it just all came. It was very triggering for me, right? That's a trigger.
It triggered you,
It
and it came
me.
flooding back.
Came flooding back, and I was so overwhelmed, I didn't know what to do.
Capacity to cope.
Yes.
A feeling that overwhelms our capacity to cope. I couldn't sleep 2 days ago. Couldn't understand why. My sister sends a message. Hey, do you guys realize that it's the 8th anniversary or 9th anniversary since our father died? And I go, oh, no. She goes, yeah, I couldn't sleep last night. My brother chimes in, yeah, I couldn't sleep either. And
All
we were
three
like,
of you?
All three of us.
Wow.
And we were like, trigger. But was I aware of it was his date? No, it was unconscious, right? So you have to be aware of that feeling in your body. When you get that tension, is what happened in this month?
With the arms up. Fists up.
Because you can only hold them up for so long, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to get tired.
Wow.
What is the trigger? And that self-awareness can help you understand what it might be. But you also got to get in and talk to somebody, right? Don't do it alone. And I know we say we don't, but I always joke with people. I'm like, well, so you're going to go down to the bar and tell Pookie and Ray Ray your business?
Yeah.
But you're not going to come to us where we keep it private?
Seek a professional,
Seek
right?
a professional.
And I'm gonna go off script for a second, because we have something here. We have a behavioral health new patient clinic that's going on. Tell us about that a little bit, and how listeners could get connected if they'd like.
So with the behavioral health clinic, what management has done is said, hey, we really want to support clients. So we're asking clients, if you need to get a diagnostic assessment done, you don't know where to begin, you walk in during one of the set times. You'll have to call them for the specific hours. I don't have that with me. And you can get a diagnostic assessment done, and they'll identify who's the first available therapist that can support you, right? We also support people in crisis. People will come in and they will find the first available therapist to sit down with them, help them calm themselves, soothe themselves. Maybe our voice will change, how we're presenting ourselves. But we're going to support you. You're not alone. And then what we're going to try and do is help you get set up with therapy, provide you education about what it is, how it can help you, and then move forward. And I tell people straight up, like, if you don't like me, fire me. But take somebody. Find somebody to support
Find someone.
Someone.
That you can,
Your life is too important.
Because people do walk away.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does trauma ripple out to affect families and communities? That's I know that's a big question.
The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Okay.
So when we say family in the black community, we're always saying, blood's thicker than water. This is my family. But I say, no, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning that the relationships and friendships that we make can sometimes be more connected than our family that we actually have. I say that from listening to people who've experienced trauma from their families, and they're like, my family's, I don't interact with them anymore. But my friend John or Julie, or that's my family.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that. Family doesn't always look how we or society has said it looks.
Sure.
And if you Black, you understand that because you're like, that's my brother.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not the same mother. That's my brother.
Yeah. From another mother.
From another mother. And that's how we rolling, okay?
Exactly. We know.
It can ripple through because how we're family. We interact with people. People are like, you're not yourself. Something's going on. They recognize what's happening. The things that we choose to do. If I choose to engage in using illegal substances, crack, methamphetamine, and that impacts me, it impacts the people that love and care about us. Right?
Sure.
There's secondary and tertiary trauma. I care about my clients. I don't want you to have an addiction to whatever it may be because it doesn't align with the goals you said you want to achieve. So how can I support you? That's how it ripples.
Okay.
It hurts the people we love because if they love is to do what's best for another. You want the best for me. And if I'm not doing that, then that hurts them. And then they have to make hard decisions to not enable us, but to love us from afar.
Right.
And now they're being traumatized because we want the best for our people.
Sure.
Does that
Yes.
make
And then
sense?
it's just this big cycle, right?
Yes, it's a cycle.
Let's talk about, because you brought this up about substance abuse. Is there a link between trauma and behaviors like substance use, anger, withdrawal?
I say yes.
Okay.
Right? There's an intersection. Right? People sometimes use substances and you go, why would they use that? Well, do you know what they went through? Maybe they're using that to cope from the pain that they have turned away from, that they can't face. I don't believe that people just want to be an addict, addicted to this or that. Maybe they have a predisposition to that.
Okay.
Is it epigenetics? Is it in your genetic code that you, in your family, people have had schizophrenia and that genetically it's been passed down to you? I don't know. We need to be aware of these things.
Right.
And to me, the substance use seems to be like secondary, because when you were born, when you were 12, and you were a 13-year-old self, did you use substances? Well, no. And then sometimes, yes. What was the environment? What was the culture that you were experiencing? Were you in an inner city gang neighborhood where it was normalized? Were you in a rural area where it was normalized because people were making it there? So the intersection I have seen is that people use it as an unhealthy coping skill with the traumas that they've gone through in some instances.
So let's talk about coping skills for a second.
Yep.
So could you share maybe 3 coping skills?
3 coping skills. One of the biggest things I like to tell people is breathe. Right? Breathe. You got to keep. You're going to keep your prefrontal cortex online, working. Why? Because when this is working, I'm thinking. Right? When I start to get upset, I'm coming from my primitive brain is what I like to call it, and I'm not able to think. My body is tensing. So be awareness of your body. What is your body telling you? I'm tense. I'm shaking. My heart is racing. I'm sweating. What is that about? But breathe. I always tell people to breathe.
Deep breathing.
In through your nose, out through your mouth. Diaphragmatic breathing.
Okay.
Is it effective? People are reporting to me that it works. I walk into the lobby of behavioral health. People are doing deep breathing, right? Using your senses. Be aware. Plant your feet centrally on the ground. Maybe put your hands on your thighs.
Okay.
If it's soothing to rub them, you feel that material, right? Sometimes people will use tactile.
Yeah.
They'll use a ball or something. Understand yourself. Know yourself and seek self-improvement. That's from the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And use those basic skills to start the process, to center yourself, to get support.
Okay.
Right? Who you surround yourself with, where are you at? If the place that you live, that you reside is a challenging place, allow yourself to go someplace that you've never been.
Sure.
I've assigned people to go down to the Guthrie Theater and to sit in the peace and feel the warmth of the air and a new peaceful environment where they feel safe. People need a sense of safety.
They do, yeah. When I get stressed, I go to the library. It takes me right back to childhood. It was a safe place, the books, the escape with the stories, tied to my dad. Those memories, I go to the library whenever I get overwhelmed.
That's a good example. Find what works for you.
So we only have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
What advice would you give someone who thinks they might be carrying some type of unhealed trauma?
Seek help from a professional. Okay. You don't do it alone, right? An immediate resource I love is COPE, right? You have APS, Acute Psychiatric Services, at Hennepin County Medical Center. That's what I call it, old school. You could also go over to 1800 Chicago. It's a Hennepin County Behavioral Health Walk-in Center. You know, if you're uncertain, seek out some supports. They are open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. I used to work down there. Wonderful place to get some supports.
1800 Chicago.
1800 Chicago.
And COPE comes out. Don't they have like a mental health?
They do. They have a crisis team that'll come out. They have one for men. They have one for children. If you're in Hennepin or Ramsey County, they have county crisis numbers. I can't think of the agency. There's an agency that has some really good suicidal awareness information online also. Okay. But if you get to a mental health professional, that's the key thing. Get the supports. Those are some quick ones. COPE is a wonderful one. You can also call, there's a number of I can't think. I wish I could think some of them. But
it's okay. And then we also encourage folks to, check us out here at NorthPoint because we have some great clinicians here.
We do. Clinicians, medical, dental, everybody is wonderful. And it's not always perfect. We make mistakes. But if you're seeking help, come to NorthPoint or old school Pilot City for those who don't know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah,
we just want to thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom and these resources with our community.
Always glad to help.
All right.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this week's Making Health Happen. We want you to know that we're here to partner with you and to help make health happen in your life. To learn more about NorthPoint, call us at 612-543-2500 or visit us on the web at northpointhealth.org.